So, as the adventurers discover that they are now unraveled into a fight against Xander. Of course, as they notice this, they do, of course, the adventurers are fully aware of the war happening above ground, above their heads. And that, of course, being the case, we'll just see what happens during this ultimate fight against Vanette's last apprentice, Xander, the Elemental Collector. Eventually, the group prepares first, starting with the enemy. First starting with the Revenant. First starting with Xander, of course. That's going to be a 16. Plus 4 is going to be, 20, which will eventually hit someone. We'll hit the Unicorn. Knowing that Xander sees the Oracle, knowing that the Celestial that will slay him through the Oracle's words via of his own death, he wishes to target the Unicorn first, in means of trying to prevent the Celestial from killing him, from the Oracle's words to claim his fate. He especially really does want to kill the Unicorn Slouch, especially the Unicorn. Aggressive will perform a fist attack. So that's going to be a total of 8 bludgeoning damage against Slouch. So 5. That's going to be 8 bludgeoning damage. Perfect. Usually against which. I want to say vengeance. That's his turn. That's the end of his turn, and of course, every start of his turn will regain 10 hit points every time. First, of course, starting next. So next up is Drake the Satyr. So 1. So that's 5. Which does not hit. 8 plus 0, which also does not hit. Oh, 16, which might actually hit. So Ursula strikes an attack against him. Okay, yes. She does. Will perform. Let me see this. I'm sorry. I'm looking at this real quick. Attack. Yeah. She transforms into her humanoid form and uses an attack. Make 2 claw attacks. Okay, so it's gonna be 2d8s. So that's gonna be a total of plus 6 of slashing damage. He's not resistant, which is very interesting in my favor. Alright, that's gonna be 6 plus 6, 12 total of slashing damage. So 12, boop. So yeah, that's gonna be 12 total damage. This is what she deals with. Next up, Garrett's turn. I don't know if he succeeds. I don't think so. The 6 plus 3 is 9, which does not hit. 15 hits. I forgot who that was. Oh, Marita. Marita, half harpy is next in line. Of course, she tries attempting a luring song, but to no avail. Xander is not charmed, for he is not affected by her singing. So that'll be... do that. Okay. Alright, that succeeds also. Let's roll all of these. So that'll be 3, 4. So that's 3, 4, and 7. So that'll be 14 plus 1, 15 total of damage. So... oh, sorry. Wait, okay. So that's 15 damage total, right? So really down to... okay, perfect. Next up, is Marita's turn. Slouch the Unicorn is next in line. Will perform Hooves attack. Of course, that being the case, if it hits, which does not, but can make a horn attack as a multi attack defense, which does hit. Sadly, that'll only be 1d8 damage, and I have rolled terribly. Roll better. Okay. That is a 6 plus 4, 10 piercing damage. That's perfect. Perfect. Okay. The end of the cycle has begun. 6 seconds have passed. Xander is next in line. 12 will attack Nora. Since that she is the only one in the group that has less of her average health, and every start of his turn, he'll regenerate 10 HP. So, perform a... let me see this. Okay, so it's just fist attack. So fist attack being of 2d6. 5 and 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. Eventually draining her of her health all the way down to 1, which is very terrifying. He does not grapple her, he doesn't. Instead, he just deals the damage and means trying to drain her to death. That's his turn. Drake is up in line. Whoa! 7 plus 1? Oh, that does not hit. Whoa! Okay. It's gonna be boop, boop. Okay, Ursula attacks again. Will perform a scimitar attack. Actually... okay, so... Were-Tiger performs... okay, Ursula performs a bite attack, which will be a 1d10. She transforms into her tiger, well, hybrid form, Were-Tiger, you know. So she is a lichen, and that she's capable of doing that. So that's 5, 9. So that's, okay. 4 piercing damage. So yeah, so that's 4 points of piercing damage against him. Okay, 4 points. Next up is Drake, who fails, Marita, who succeeds. Marita will perform 2 attacks at once. Okay, she fails the other attack. We'll perform a 2d4 okay. 5 plus 1, 6. 6 points of damage. It's gonna drain it down to 6. Okay, here's visual. Now next up would be Sloucher's charge. So that's 9 plus 4, 13, which does hit. In fact, that fails. We'll perform a charge attack, which will be performed as a 2d8 of damage. 7. That'll be 7 piercing damage against Xander. Okay. So that's the damage dealt. Yeah, I'm correct. 7 points of damage. Okay, so next up is now the Revenant's turn. Well, Xander being the case. So he's a Revenant. Knowing that he is trying to avenge against Garrett, specifically against him, fails. Okay. So next up would be Drake again. Succeeds also. They both succeed. As they do, we'll merge their attacks in the exact same order. First, of course, being the case. First being one attack, and then this attack. Perfect. So we'll perform a short sword attack, being 7 points of piercing damage for Drake, Nora performing only 3 points of piercing damage. So, kind of being a total of 10 damage entirely. So, okay, so that's 10 damage, so I'm just going to keep it at that, because you would have regenerated 10 health eventually. We'll form that at the attack. Next up, Ursula fails. My god. Okay, finally. Garrett performs in an attempt of trying to cut off the... Look at this. So that's going to be 3 plus 3, which will be 6 total points of slashing damage. And we'll take so Garrett takes what is left of the weakened fire elemental stone, takes it into his possession when trying to loosen of Xander's grip into the stone itself. And of course, it may be still weak, but he'll give it an attempt of using it against Xander in means of using fire against him, which is why Xander had wielded it to begin with. As a fire, of course, trying to stop him from regenerating every so often. So that being the case, we'll just see what happens. So Garrett does get the stone. He picks it off from the ground, and until that of next turn, he'll use it. And the next up would be, after him would be Marita, so she'll have to roll to attack. Succeeds. Will lash her claws again in Xander's face, in means of trying to stop him from getting the stone back 5 plus 1 would be 6. Okay, that's a shame. We'll perform another horn attack. That's good. 11 points. That's going to be 7, 9. Perfect. They drained it pretty well. Okay. And as the turn keeps progressing, bam! Generates 10 health. And Xander will now perform... Well, let's just see if he succeeds. He fails. But he can do it again. So 8 plus 4 is 12. Okay, that succeeds. So we'll attack Ursula. Let's see this. Well, actually, he'll attack Garrett. We'll perform a total of 66 of damage. $10, $20. As of which permanently drains Garrett from his health. Draining it also entirely, draining Garrett down to 0. Garrett is now officially weakened to his ground and is slowly dying. Xander is sure as heck delighted. That's the end of his turn. And next up would be Drake. Drake uses the urge of moving a few of the 15 feet from Garrett, wielding that of the weakened Fire Stone, and uses it in an attempt of trying to get rid of Xander. So let me see this. So let's see if he succeeds. So that's going to be an 8 plus 1 is 9. Nora fails. Ursula succeeds. Drake throws the stone into Ursula's direction. As he does, Ursula snatches it into the air with one grab, with her tiger claw, whatever, and attempts of using it. It will be 5d8 of fire damage. So it'll be a 5d8 of fire damage, so let's roll. So that'll be 5d8. It's gonna be, whoop. That's gonna be 10, 10. It's gonna be 26 total points of damage. Oh, excuse me. Perfect. Okay, so next up, that was Ursula. Now Garrett has to roll for saving throws. Absolute failure. Yep. Absolute failure. Next up is going to be Marita. That's going to be an 8 plus 1, 9, does not hit. A 3, which does not work also. Good news, with fire being inflicted into Xander's body, his, well, revenant, undead corpse pale body, in which the fire damage manages to prevent him from regenerating of 10 hit points. That being the case, so now he can't regenerate with fire damage being inflicted to him. He rolls for 2 fist attacks, 1 and 2. Both fail. And that would be Drake's turn next. Drake is next. Rolls attack. Whoa, that does succeed. In fact, well, actually, he can't. Oh man, I didn't know satyrs don't have a multi-attack. I didn't even know that. Let me see this. Drake will perform a ram attack of bludgeoning damage. That's 4 plus 1, 5 total points of bludgeoning damage. That's gonna be 5, draining it now down to 58 of health left. Says Drake. Nora is next in line. 6. Fail. I think, yeah, this is Ursula. So Ursula, so that's plus 3. So that's a failure. Okay. That's gonna be a 4. Fine. Alright. Those of you who didn't know, Ursula was performing a multi-attack, 2 scimitar attack, slashing twice, fails. Garrett succeeds on his saving throw of death. Death save throws. Oh, 14 does hit. Marita, in fact, here. That fails. Will perform a club attack, kind of bonking against its head. 3 plus 4. So that 3 plus 1 is 4. So that's going to be 4 total points of damage from Marita. Slouch is next in line. Ooh, 16. Hits. And it's going to be another 15. We'll perform 2d6 of bludgeoning damage, kicking its hooves against Xander's body. 1d8 piercing damage. So, okay, so that's gonna be 8 total to the amount. That's gonna be 13. That's gonna be 13. 13 plus 8, which will eventually equal the 21. It's gonna drain 21 health against it. That's gonna be 20. Shoot. Wrong thing. 21 health. So it's gonna be. Boop, boop. Over. Xander regenerates to 43 health, given that he has not been affected by the fire damage yet during that 6 seconds of turn play. That being the case, Xander is next up in line 12. So that's going to be another 2d6. Will eventually drain Nora into her health and kill her. As of which, now targeting the unicorn. So it's going to be 7 points of damage. Alright. That's Xander's turn. Next up would be Drake again. 5 failing. Okay, Ursula. Oh, 18. Garrett succeeds again. It's going to be Marita, which does succeed. Marita will snatch the stone from Ursula's hand, use it against Xander one last time. Oh shoot. Sorry guys. Oh wow. It's going to be 30 points. So 30 total of points itself voluntarily. That's Marita's turn. Slouch is next in line. Will perform. Fail. As the group keeps fighting Xander during the conflict of their battle, they do discover that these strange fiery-like creatures start to emerge through the cracks of earth from above their heads. These creatures resemble the form of little brownish creatures with magma orange cracks of skin, with flames emerging through their hands, through their claws, little stubby little legs, and they have a mouth, eyes, nostrils of pure orange magma and flame, with little ears like a little goblin. And these little miniature guys are they miniature? Yes, they are. Very small creatures referred to as magmins, emerging as those of the corpses of fire elementals during the Great Elemental War that is flicking from above their heads, as previously mentioned. With now that the war coming to its closure, with the fire elemental entities, the magmins, slowly moving through the cracks and falling into the ground, forming back into their humanoid, whatever shapes. Cute, but somewhat deadly. There's 3 of them. Of course, the 3 closest of the magmins coming into their way. As for others, are kind of having a slower way of doing this, of trying to squeeze through the cracks. Others are doing this in the meantime. As for 3 particular ones also doing this in the process. That being the case, the magmins are now a new threat to dealing with. Not as much of a threat, but somewhat a threat to the fight that they're in. Yes, Xander is next up in line. Succeeds. Will perform an attack against Slouch one more time. This time attempting to ram his fist hard enough into... Okay, that's gonna be 3... It's gonna be 7 points of damage, draining it now down to... What is it? And we'll also use another attack in means of doing Vengeful Glare, forcing Ursula to perform a Wisdom saving throw. Automatically succeeds. Okay, so, yes, Ursula withstands against his Vengeful Glare, and would have been corrupted and being paralyzed under this paralysis aura into her body, permanently weakening her and being frightened of Xander's pale, very dead appearance. Luckily, she withstands it. Next up would be Drake. I'll perform a fire attack of damage in means of trying to take the stone, but Marita's like, no, I got this. I have the stone, I could use it. Oh, I almost forgot. Okay, so I almost forgot to do this. The 3 magmins, they attack. 2 miss, 1 succeeds. One of them getting a few of 10 feet to Drake's feet and performing 10 points of fire damage. Okay, so yeah. So 10 damage total, 21. So now Drake is now ignited by flame. And Drake will perform means of trying to wipe away the smoke, but does manage to attack one of the little mischievous creatures. Starting, of course, given the fact that he'll do a 2d4 of bludgeoning. See if it succeeds. It's going to be 6 plus 1, 7. And then that will be 3 because magmins are now resistant against bludgeoning. So that's a problem. That's going to be only 3 points of damage given. So it's going to drain it down to 4. He does douse the fire, I can tell you that, but we'll have to roll for the fire damage that he receives afterwards. So that's a problem. So it drains it down to 17 health. Nora is on the ground collapsed. Drake notices this and tries any means necessary of trying to help her. As for Ursula, fails the attack. Okay. So Garrett is back on his feet. As he is, Xander notices this and is very, very furious that he has not completed his task yet, for Garrett had managed to stand up on his ground. Rita is next. She eventually erupts her wings into the ethereal sky, and well, actually, no, we're not going to do that. So she fails. She fails the attack. Slouch, Unicorn is next in line. Performs. Okay, that hits. So, Slouch does succeed. Will perform an attack against Xander also. Performing 2d6. Oh, okay. So that's going to be 8 plus 4, which is 12. Sadly, however, he does regain 10 HP back, given that he is not weakened from the fire again. Okay, so 18, 6, 12. Unicorn, Unicorn is attacked once. Actually, twice. 2d6. Okay, so 13 total points of damage through Xander and one of the magmins. Warding against the Unicorn. So that's 13. Yeah, 13. Well, actually, hold up. 13 plus 4 being 17 damage. That's going to be Okay. As for one of the other Magmans, also performing a fire touch attack against Ursula, which will be, actually, no, it can't do that. It fails the roll, as of what I had mentioned. Drake goes next, fails. Natural 20 for Ursula. Ursula will perform a double damage, as she does. Will perform that of a longbow attack, which surprisingly is 1d8 plus 2 piercing damage against Xander. So 4 plus 2, which will be 6. So yeah, so it's gonna be 4 plus 2, 6, and then 12 will be doubled, so it's gonna drain it now down to 10. Okay, so that's Ursula. Next up would be Garrett. See if he succeeds. He does. As he does, we'll perform an attack, a means of trying to destroy the stone of fire, and also dealing the damage throughout the entire room. He breathes his ice damage into the artifact of the firestone. As he does, everyone that is a few 10 to 15 feet nearby the explosion, the bursting of this eruption itself, will be, so that'll be 4, okay, and then okay. So now, as for, of course, during the explosion, the Magmans take somewhat half of the damage. So we're gonna say they're gonna be at 12. During the force explosion itself erupting throughout the entire 15-foot diameter area, this explosion drains a lot of health to the group. Marita, of course, at 14. Drake collapses to the ground, burned in fire. And not entirely dead, but weakened, in which the fire has permanently weakened his body to the ground. Magmans, of course, immune to fire, of course, that I have to resist that. The group does see in wonder that Xander's undead corpse collapses to the ground, his body dead. The explosion permanently destroying him. As this happens, he tries crawling away from the battle, a means of trying to survive. But Slouch slowly walks toward Xander. Slouch walks up slowly to Xander and says in deep, kind of croaky voice once more, saying, "I've been waiting a long, long time for this." And eventually, as he raises his horn, Slouch plunges his unicorn horn deep into Xander's chest. And then, as the horn plunges into Xander's chest, this magical aura permanently swarms into his intestines. The group stands back, Slouch immediately pulling the horn back from the chest of Xander. Xander kind of writhles in very twisted and bony-like ways, in very nasty angles. And as this happens, a spark permanently shines brighter and brighter and brighter. And suddenly crimson red stripes flying across the room and swirling like blood. And the giant swirls of blood eventually absorbed into retraction of the light of the magic voluntarily. And immediately, as this happens, bam! The entire room shines with light as Xander's body permanently disintegrates. All of his blood permanently absorbed and now, bam! Disappeared in a giant explosion of light. As of the Magmans are very, very weakened from this, taking almost as much as a few 9 points of radiant damage from this attack, from the explosion of the light shining back against them. So yeah, it's gonna be... As of everyone else in the room is completely fine, Slouch the Unicorn turns to the little gremlin creatures, the Magmans, turns to them and speaks in a deep voice, "Get lost." And the Magmans retreat through the cracks of the stone tunnels, where they are still there, witnessing of Xander's permanent disintegration. As the entire room, entire tunnel system that the adventurers are now still left in, remains entirely as quiet. They are very surprised of knowing that the war is over. They discovered that above their heads, knowing that the war was silent, proclaiming that victory was restored. And as this happens, they discover that the war is permanently won. Given, of course, of the silence that is left in the tunnels, even with the Magmans running in fear. The Magmans are terrified, of course, that now all of the forces of flames are gone. Slouch says, "Don't worry, for I have the magic in which can help. I have magic bared into my powers that I've been holding for a very long time. Here, I will heal 3 people." Eventually, he heals Nora, Marita, and Drake, all at the same time. This will approximately take a total of, you could say, what's 6 times 3? 18 seconds. Healing them and regenerating them back. Drake and Nora, the 2 of them stand up back. It means that they are still alive. So that's Lord have mercy. As for Marita, is also healed as well. So yeah. Eventually, Slouch says, "Don't worry. I also have means of..." Okay, so let me see this. Sorry, guys. Let me see. So that's going to be boop, 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 boop. Okay. 4 plus 16, which will be 20. Slouch regains, Slouch is now at 20 HP. It means that during its legendary actions of 3 actions during the time, healing itself in such a great amount. Of course, costing this for somewhat, at least nearly a 36-second type of cooldown. The group was somewhat patient with this cycle. And Slouch says, I can only teleport myself and 3 additional creatures with me. Now you guys have to stay close to me so that we'll go back to Taurus Kingdom, which is nearly as much as a few feet from here. We're not far, but I think best we should teleport, for we have exhausted ourselves. And just like that, the magical aura surrounding Slouch, Ursula, Nora, and Drake are surrounding them. But before that happens, Ursula says, "Wait, something I need to do." And so Ursula, Queen Ursula of Taurus, she slowly walks up to Garrett and says, "So, now that the war is over, does that mean we could hold our marriage proposals?" And Garrett said, "I would love to, but I'm going to have no other choice but to somewhat turn you down in a very respectful manner. I know that you have selected me, one of the slaves in those fields from above, that you have selected me as your marriage partner. But I just realized that during this war I have found someone that I would love more. A friend of mine." And so Garrett slowly turns his gray head, and then they both looked at Merida, the harpy with her giant brown bird wings curling around her body. "Well, if you say so. I actually thought that you were the one. But I guess maybe you're right. It's time we part ways." And Ursula kind of felt pretty empty-hearted from this, and in some way almost cries. And Garrett says, "Now, Ursula, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. In fact, I will do something a little nice to help you. Slouch has previously mentioned that it appears that Xander has said about a twin sister. Her name is Gabrielle, of course. Perhaps maybe if she is ever to be found throughout this land, she might be worthy to be by your side." Ursula is shocked by this and says, "Perhaps, how would you know of trying to find her, that is, wherever she's hiding?" And Garrett says, "Don't worry, leave it to me. With the help of Slouch, the unicorn, I might actually have a chance of finding her. She deserves the praise that she needs. Aside from myself, I think that Gabrielle is that of the next person that she must be betrothed to you. Well, for instance, that Gabrielle had managed to evacuate the citizens underneath the tunnels of Taurus, which is why Xander was here to begin with. She managed to do it in a matter of time. Smart girl she is. And yet, I've not met her." And Ursula, she touches his shoulder in a friendly manner and says, "Thank you, Garrett, for everything. For all of us." And so just like that, Ursula slowly walks to Slouch, the unicorn, and touches the unicorn's body. As this does, the aura surrounding Slouch, Drake, Nora, and Ursula, they all disappear. As they vanish back into the kingdom from above, the only two that's left is Garrett and Merida. Just the two of them. And Garrett crouches down next to her, to Marita, and says, "Look, Marita, I'm deeply sorry if I were to drag you in this adventure by force. I humbly apologize for by any means of using you and mistreating you." And Marita said, "No, you don't have to apologize. I wasn't used. I think that out of anything, this was the best ever adventure I have been to." "Really?" And Marita said, "Yes. This was by far the best adventure I have had. I have made friends along the way, all because that you, well, dragged me along, that is. But I don't see you as a villain. Of course, you are obviously aware that, like Drake, that I have lost people under the influence of Vanette's apprentices. Well, that especially, that I don't really know which specific apprentice. Either, of course, of Lord Ezzy being the one to destroying so many. But it's still yet to be determined. But I manage, well, we manage to avenge for those that have died under the most powerful of Vanette's apprentices, for all it's worth. And especially Xander, being the most powerful of all of them. If we wouldn't have defeated him, heck, if we wouldn't have destroyed those of the elemental stones, then Xander would have used them to permanently devoured the material plane into the elemental forces of evil. But in the end, we saved Taurus. We saved the entire land of Sonok. Out of anything, I thank you, Garrett." And so the two of them, they kind of walk shoulder to shoulder, and they slowly walk back through the upstairs tunnel system through the gray stone of the dark emptiness of the tunnel itself voluntarily. And as they return back to Taurus, Garrett and Marita, they start holding hands, and they were smiling. So, the oracle has spoken in its words to that of who have asked the question of their own fate. I sense that your fate will be something far different than any creature on this land, in which, given of your loneliness and your means of being a misfit, separate from your people, such pity. And I feel sorry for you out of anyone, that your loneliness may drive you, in which would lead to that fate. And then a loud bump echoes. You have repeated that 20 times. My fate remains the same. My loneliness has driven me to my own fate. So what? I am nothing but a floating head. But I will still remain strong, no matter what fate it leads me. Your words do not frighten me, you filthy oracle. For your witchcraft is nothing compared to what I have in store. And I will wreak havoc throughout the land of Zonok. And I don't need no constructed stones or elemental chaos powers into the grasp of my hands to do it. Not like of any other phenomenons that I have heard from rumors. I have been preparing of a war, conquest that even you shall fear, of what fate you shall discover. A conquest that I have worked on, for my magic has been bared into my hands for more than 1,000 years. And I cannot wait for the magic to unleash the beast it beholds, a demon that will unleash the 3 portals, the pedestals, instead of being that of an advantage of thwarting evil, in which I shall use them as an advantage against them. Portals that'll create an army larger than any other. Larger than the net. Larger than the Terreskew.